give a really wonderful and grateful thanks to everyone who has commented on the last podcast that was uploaded. But first, I want to give special thanks to those that have been here from the very beginning and continue to support and just send wonderful messages. Joyce Anderson, Connie Balmer, Guillermo, or Guylaine, Monaster, Susie Queen, Gloria Hughes, Queenie, Victoria Fabre, John Garcia, Dorothy Cordice, Melissa Juice, Jennifer Clark, Trini Love, Carolyn Honnigan, Gracie Fenwobi, Lydia Barber, Lydia Washington, Lawless, that's amazing. Nanati Holt, at S6352, Anastasia Isabella, Coop for Sussex, Cruzen PC, Condesi. I just really want to say thank you. It's just been really amazing. And I guess you were all right that as one starts to progress or you start to do more, people with hateful intentions come to your channel in order to contaminate the environment. I've said it in almost every one of my podcasts. Look, please don't waste your time. I am not interested at all in any of your hateful comments or anything that you post in this space that is not to contribute to a healthy conversation, if that's what you would like to have. So it's going to be deleted. If you ever hear this again, thank you for your comment. Thank you for taking your time and investing it in me. Thank you. You know, I don't know how long I've got to live. I don't know how long you've got to live. And you just spent your time that is so precious, I'm assuming, unless you don't think your time or your life is precious, on me. What a privilege that I can have such an influence on you. How easy was that? I have influence on you, someone you don't know. I don't know you, but somehow I've had such an impact that you thought it necessary to do what you did. But there is one that I'm interested in because I'm going to leave it up. It's Ellen Mendoza, 7246. And this is what Ellen Mendoza, 7246, writes. And by the way, Ellen, thank you, because there's so much compliment in what you wrote. So you talk about positivity, and then next you proceed to attack the British monarchy. Yes, let's face facts. You don't know what you're talking about. This is absolutely hilarious. With your silky tones, with new age music, and then down the rabbit hole of conspiracy you go. All very weird. And then emoji, teary eye, I guess, or yeah, laughter, it's laughter, because you're laughing so much you laughed until you cried. Oh, the irony. Ellen Mendoza, 7246, if you're listening to this, hang on, don't go anywhere. I would love to respond to you. And someone else, I'm not even going to mention them, they said, he's as dumb as, and I'm not going to say the rest. Let me tell you, I don't know how dumb I am. I'm as dumb as the things I don't know. The things that I do know, I know. The things that I don't, listen, then I'm as dumb because I don't know them. But here is the thing about me, and I'm going to give you some more insight. I know if I see something in front of me, I can call it for what it is. I don't allow anyone to tell me that an apple is an orange. If I see an apple, I say that's an apple. And there will be many people saying, no, it's an orange. And when I say many people, I mean the factors that influence our thought and what we see or what we believe. Some of us are able to extract, think about it, and say, hang on a second. What is that really, or what is that intended to be? So once again, thank you for the compliment. I'm as dumb as the things I do not know. And I'm assuming that you do know a lot, so, right, you're able to classify me that way. But Ellie Mendoza, 7246, let me respond in this way to you, because I saw your comment and immediately I went, oh, this is interesting. If you had not kind of gone to the personal, I would look at your comment and think, this is a valid, very valid question. Now, let me tell you where my criticism comes from. But let's start understanding that one can hold two thoughts or various at one time. At least I'm able to. Am I a positive person? Oh gosh, in this world, we need to be positive. There's so much negativity and so much coming to us on a daily basis that we need the people who try to remain positive or have a smile on their face, people who are kind. But that does not mean we cannot criticize and hold leaders accountable for their actions. Just because I'm a positive person, what does that imply? That I should just accept everything? No. I would expect, if you are a positive person, that you maintain a positive attitude, outlook on life. But when you see unfairness, when you see things that does not compute, or when people are being hypocrites, that you may call them out on it. By the way, thank you about the silky voice. I don't think I have much of a silky voice, but thank you. I think that's kind of nice. I appreciate that. So, holding those in power accountable is a fundamental aspect of a healthy, functioning society. It ensures that leaders, whether in government, business, or any other sphere of influence, use their power responsibly and in the best interest of those they serve. So the case of King Charles III and the lavish spending over a coronation, it is pertinent for one to be able to criticize it. In times of economic hardships, when many citizens are grappling with financial struggles and critical public services like the NHS, for example, are under tremendous pressure, extravagant expenditures on ceremonial events can appear to be tone deaf. And to be quite frank, insensitive. It's vital for the public to voice concerns about such disparities between the actions of those in power and the immediate needs of the people. Criticism in this context isn't just right. It is one's civic duty to do that. It's about ensuring that those who hold positions of influence remain connected to the realities of the people they represent or that they serve. You cannot stand there and say you understand the struggles of the people. You understand that there are people that need to go to heating centers. You can't say you understand that some people are not feeding themselves so that they can feed their children because the financial and economic circumstances are so difficult, but you choose to accept a pay raise and also spend millions on a ceremony for fancy. The two things do not compute. So one is responsible to call it out. The same principles apply in scenarios where there is disconnection or disconnect between public persona and private actions, especially concerning human rights. Consider, for example, bear with me here, consider a public figure who vocally champions equal rights, but is found to be abusive in private. The hypocrisy undermines their credibility and the causes they represent. It's critical to call out such behavior, to maintain the integrity of the advocacy of those rights. So you might not see any problem in that, but I do. Now, when I criticized or called out Prince William and Catherine, I did it based on information that is publicly available. So I'm not inventing anything. I'm not creating anything. This is information available. So if you want to find it, you can go ahead and do some research. Look, I understand it's very easy to get on a bandwagon and sort of have a sort of set mind on something. It's like tunnel vision, right? At times I have tunnel vision because I either really like something or I like someone or I like this group or, you know, and sometimes you don't want to accept certain things about whether it's one's country or a famous artist that you like. I remember, and hopefully you do too, when Bill Cosby was charged or the accusations about what he had done came to public. Let me tell you, as a kid, I loved that show. Loved the Cosby Show. Loved it. And there were some people who were like, no, we're going to support him 100%. You know, they're trying to bring him down because of X, Y, or Z. And I thought for a second, hang on a minute. The man plays a character that I like and presents a type of family of African Americans that we had not seen much on television. And as a kid growing up, I liked that. I appreciated that there was representation that told me that there was a possibility that I could be working towards, a life that I can aim towards, right? And I can separate the two things. I can separate the character that I liked to the man who drugged women, allegedly, and basically assaulted them. I'm not blind in my alliance to anyone. Everyone is up for criticism. Everyone is up for judgment. As long as it's fair and as long as it's based in reality. If you come to my channel, you've listened to what I've had to say, and you have a valid criticism, and I said it at the very beginning of the podcast, I said very clearly, gratitude and thank you to all of those, and I'm trying to get better, and that I accept also constructive criticism because I want to be better. So if someone says to me, and you can tell, right? I assume you can tell when someone is saying something to you with the intention of making you better. And you know very well when someone is saying or doing something that is not. You understand, I would hope, when someone is being sarcastic, when someone is being, that sort of undertone to insult you. Oh, you look so nice in that dress. Oh, you look lovely. God bless. You know they didn't mean it, right? So I accept, and I'm going to leave that post there because that's a valid, well, some of it is a valid point. So my responsibility is to respond and say, I hear your point. But in every functioning society, we should be able and we must criticize those in power and that hold power within our society. Look, I have stopped buying certain products from certain companies. I don't use certain companies or stores or so on because in research I found out that they have really bad practices in the way that they treat their employees or their vendors in countries where they pay wages that are below poverty line in many cases, right? So they're taking advantage of people. Now, am I knowing that? Am I going to continue to support that store? Heck no. No, not me. If you want to, go right ahead. But am I going to also go and spray paint in front of the store, curse their employees out, tell them they're this or that? Am I going to go on their website and just write these things and call them dumbasses or whatever it is? No. What for? My time is too precious. I have things to learn, things to do, communicate with these wonderful people who have decided to listen in or watch my podcast, and sometimes we learn things, sometimes it's just for entertainment purposes. So any criticism that you see that I employ here is one that I've thought about. I've thought about it. And not only have I thought about it, I've gone out to seek evidence of what it is I am going to represent or I'm going to say. I just don't assume, or I just don't take things at face value. I made a criticism and I said that for her age, Catherine looks aged. That's a valid criticism. It absolutely is. I also said, in some lighting, one could appear better, and in other lighting, one can appear less favorable. But when someone looks aged, it could mean for many factors, right? Do I care to go into all of them? Not really. It could be you're stressed. It could be that you're having a tough life. It could be because your insides are not good, right? And that stress and not good-heartedness comes out and it shows in your body, your face, your actions. Let me tell you something. When the day comes, if it ever, and there is truth that either Meghan or Harry are complete hypocrites, I will say it. I will say it, I will post it, and I will be so disappointed in them. But I will say it. I've seen some of the criticism out there. Oh, they took a private jet if they're trying to save the earth. They never said they were trying to save the earth, people. They never said they were environmentalists. They said, this is what they said. We want to help companies find sustainable ways to do what they do. So if I'm going on holidays on a very exclusive private island, and the only way to get there is by taking some commercial flights and then hopping in a private plane, I'm going to do it. Who are you to tell me I can't? Just because I say I want to help or find more sustainable ways for companies to do their business, it doesn't mean I can't take a damn private plane. I can. So if I can afford it, I'm taking it. Who are you to tell me I can't? Tell me, who are you to tell me I can't? Now, I find it hypocritical if I am hosting this big Earth event and I fly into the city where it's being held, and then I fly a whole bunch of celebrities instead of flying the people who won. If I'm going to give them a prize and I'm going to say, hey, you win $500,000, I'm going to make sure they get their $500,000. I'm not going to say, oh, well, yeah, it's $500,000, but it's in installments. Every year I'll give you $10,000. That to me is hypocrisy. That to me is not being clear, it's not being truthful. So I'll call it out. I don't understand the effort that it takes, because listen, I don't have hate for William, I don't have hate for Charles, I don't have hate for any of them. I don't know these people, so I don't hate them. Hate is a very strong emotion. It's a very strong feeling. And when one hates, it grows nastiness inside of you. It makes you ugly. Listen, I'm not the most good looking guy, but I'm not that bad either. And I want to remain a certain way, so hate is not part of my morning or day routine. Ever. I may dislike something. I may dislike someone. Pointing out where someone is not living up to what they're telling us that they want to live up to, it's not a bad thing. You know, I have always welcomed constructive criticism. I'm always looking for it because, as I said before, it's the best way to grow and grow fast, because people are able to see your blind spots that you may not be able to see. And I like that. I like when I've had, whether it's teachers or professors or my parents or relatives or my friends, when we're having a discussion or any sort of feedback, and they'll say, look, you're great here, 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 and here, but over here, you need to do a little bit more work on that because it's coming across like this. And I'll take it. I'll sit with it. Because sometimes criticism could be harsh, eh? It could be. So I stay with it. And I'm like, okay, I see what they mean. All right, how might I change that? And you know, some things we're able to change really quickly. Others we're not. Others so embedded in our DNA and the things we've learned, and it's so hard to dismantle some of it. I hope I've responded back to you in the most authentic way that I can, in the most intelligent way I can. I am not trying to be positive and then go down any rabbit hole. There's lots of conspiracy theories about a lot of things. I am very careful as to what I say, what I believe in, and I look at different sources for my news, for my information, right? Certain things bother me a lot because I see an apple in front of me, and when someone else is going to tell me it's an orange, and other people blindly kind of follow and say, yeah, it's an orange. It's sort of like a mentality and a mind that I have difficulty understanding. Look, the Sussexes are not, because I know this is about that, right? They're not immune to criticism. At least not from me, right? The issue is the type of hate that comes out from some sectors and some people. And that hate, let's face it, it's not contained within just one side. There are things that within this community that I don't particularly endorse or I don't particularly would handle it that way. But then again, who am I to tell someone, hey, I may call it out, or else in my space, I'm not doing that. Okay? So I'm going to leave yours there, but the rest I'm going to delete because I follow Maya Angelou's philosophy. It doesn't matter how important you are. It doesn't matter your status or category or status in life or money or any of that. Maya Angelou always looked at her home as her secret place. And you could be the president of somewhere, nowhere, the king or queen of somewhere and nowhere. And if you came into her space and her home, her sanctuary, and used profanity, vulgarity, or any of the schisms and phobias that exist. She grabbed your coat, she showed you the door, and she said goodbye. So, to the others, here's your coat, there's the door, and goodbye. Thank you for your time. I have invested this time back so that this becomes a teaching moment, I think, because I thought that you asked a pretty valid question, and I also thought that you offered me some really nice compliments, and I appreciate that. So I take the positive and welcome it, and the challenge to explain how one could be positive and at the same time be critical. Those two things don't conflict. That means I'm an active member in my society, I'm an active member in world events, I'm an active member in thinking. I'm a thinking human being. Ellen Mendoza, muchísimas gracias, merci, thank you. And I hope that answers your question. And I am weird, I know I am. I like being weird actually, so again, another compliment. I hope you have a wonderful time, day, evening, morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. I hope there is much love and happiness around you. I hope that you love and kiss and hug the ones who love you. And I hope you give that energy, that time that you've spent in my space, on my channel. I hope you invest that time also in your loved ones. And Ellen Mendoza, 7246, be kind to yourself. Be very kind to yourself because it's needed. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to your loved ones. And watch what you say to strangers, because you never know. You never know what path they're on. You don't know their story. So be kind. I think it's rather funny how certain things can activate us, right? It may activate us to find a change or to create a change, or it may activate us in the contrary. And receiving those comments really have, I think, activated me to approach a couple of things differently, but in a good way for us, I think. Because after that response, and by the way, that's my first and last time I will ever, let me repeat that, it's my first and last time I will ever respond to any sort of comment like that. First and the last time. But what it's done, it's given me some ideas. Because everything that we do and the way we do it and the way we think, it is influenced by something, by someone, by our history, our culture, and by our genetic makeup. So I wanted to sort of delve into this topic, which is deeply ingrained in the human psyche, our predisposition towards negativity. This phenomenon, often referred to as the negativity bias, has profound implications on our behavior, decision making, and interpersonal relationships. Neuroscientific evidence has shown that there is a greater neutral processing in the brain in response to negative stimuli. Right? So when something negative or something awful sort of happens, or there is hate and anger, our brain activates even more towards it, right? It activates that negative stimuli. Studies indicate that negative stimuli elicit a larger brain response than positive ones, demonstrating that the brain built-in sensitivity to unpleasant news, right? So it's sort of built in our system, in our DNA, in our brain. This bias is so automatic that it can be detected at the earliest stage of brain information processing. This negativity bias, deeply hardwired within us, influences our attitudes towards more heavily negative things than positive ones. Isn't that interesting? So we actively need to think and make the decision to go towards positive things. So I would say people who will be more attracted to the negative, who are more attracted to hate, right? They're not making any effort. The brain reacts more strongly to that negative stimuli. So it leads to that greater surge of electricity, right? That electrical surge in the brain. As a result, our attitudes, perspectives, and reactions are more heavily influenced by negative factors, right? There are hundreds, I think, of negative podcasts and YouTube channels about hating a woman and hating the man who chooses to love her. And I'm referring to Meghan and Harry, by the way. Hundreds. And it attracts more people because it's a stimuli. It's an excitement. The brain function starts to go kind of crazy. It feeds it. This cognitive bias implies that even when our equal intensity, things of a more negative nature, such as unpleasant thoughts, emotions, or social interactions, harmful or traumatic events, have a greater effect on our psyche, on our psychological state. And it will process those over the positive ones. So let's consider the implications of this bias. In a world where information is readily accessible, our inclination towards negativity can skew our perception of reality. So in my response, right, to Helen, I said, when I see an apple in front of me, I say it's an apple. But for some people, they are ready to be convinced that it's not an apple, that actually it's an orange. And they will believe it. This is not me saying that. This is science that says this. So a person who chooses to say, no, hang on a minute. That's an apple. And you're trying to convince me otherwise. And I will not accept that. You know, I've always wondered why so many people decide to blindly follow people who, whether it's in religion or politics, so blindly give up their own autonomy of decision making. It's always fascinated me. And as I've read and researched, I was like, oh, so some of this is wired into us. And then we have to choose to not feed it. Because the implications are dire. You know, understanding this bias, I think it's the first step towards overcoming it. It's sort of what they say about people who are addicts. Say if you're addicted to alcohol or drugs or any sort of thing. Admitting and recognizing first that, yes, I am addicted. Yes, I have an addiction. You have to admit it to yourself first. Not other people trying to tell you over and over, no, you've got a problem, you've got a problem. What happens when people say repeatedly, you've got a problem, man, you've got a problem, you've got a problem? The person kind of goes, I don't have a problem. They have to recognize that they've got a problem. So understanding this bias is the first step to overcoming it. By recognizing our natural tendency towards the negative, we can consciously strive to emphasize, right? To seek out, emphasize the positivity in our lives, the positivity in information that we choose to consume. It's a choice. We can train our minds to appreciate positive experiences, cultivate gratitude, and practice empathy. You know, as much as I may criticize the British royal family, there's a certain line I don't cross. And I never will. Because the things that I say, I have to stand by them. They're coming out of my mouth. And I always want, at the end of it all, even within criticism, for there to be a light of positivity, because criticism allows us to self-evaluate. Criticism allows us to say, maybe there's something I am not seeing that others are. So let me sit with this. Right? Now, the understanding of this bias is critical in holding people in power accountable. When leaders exhibit behaviors or make decisions that are not good for the society, that puts one set of people against another, the people who are in that mode of negativity, it excites their neurons because it's negative. They're drawn to it. They're drawn to, it's not my fault, it's yours. I don't have a job, not because I'm not looking for one, it's because you're an immigrant coming to take my jobs away. Get your ass up and go look for a job. You're the one who doesn't want to work the fields. You're the one who doesn't want to go pick fruits. You're the one who doesn't want to work under the heat of the sun. You're the one who doesn't want to do the construction work. Therefore, there is someone else who wants to, who's willing to. They're not taking your jobs away. They're allowing you to find another job, right, that's more comfortable for you. But do you see how that affected the brain? Instead of that person looking at the migrant or the immigrant who is coming to then do those low-skilled jobs, the jobs that no one else wants, and see it as a positive, they automatically see it as a negative thing, and it's your fault, all this stuff that's happened. When you have someone in the north of the US complaining about the migrant situation, I'm thinking, what migrant situation? You're up north, man. Now, Texas. Yeah, I get it. And why is it that there's only criticism towards the South? Right? So we have to be conscious about the way we view things and the selection and the options that are there for us, because we automatically are wired to go towards the negative, because the negative has a greater reaction in our brain. That's not me saying that, that's science. In conclusion, while our brains may be wired to lean towards negativity, it is not insurmountable fate that we've got to give into. With awareness and effort, we can retrain our minds to balance this bias, creating a more positive, empathetic, and perhaps just society. Right? Even when we look at things like anger and these negative emotions, and they're not always negative, because sometimes one needs anger. You need anger in order to approach certain things, in order to have survival. Sometimes, depending on the situation. I'm not talking about anger because you're not getting your way, or anger because you want to blame someone else for your situation. I could be in a competition, and we've seen, for example, tennis players get angry. And they hit the racket, they break it, and you see them frustrated. That is anger. Anger at I'm not performing at the level that I know I'm capable of. I'm angry. And now I'm going to let that anger out. So I'm telling my system, we can do better. So we are going to play this match much better than we have. There's a story that I heard not too long ago. And it's either a grandfather and a grandson or a sort of parental unit and a child. In with this example, let's just say a father and a son. And the father says to the son, there are two wolves inside of me. One is good and wants to do good. And one is bad, evil. It's always angry, hates. It's such a battle inside of me. And the son looks at the father with concern and it's like, okay, Dad, like, what do you mean? And the father looks at the son and he says, everyone have these two wolves inside of them. Everyone does. You have them. And the son, with concern, starts to think, oh no, I have two wolves inside of me too? A good one and a bad one? And oh no. And he turns to his father and he says, okay, well, Dad, which one am I? Which one wins? And the father calmly looks at him and he said, the one that you feed. The one that you feed. What are we feeding? What are we feeding ourselves? Because if we feed the wolf of hate, if we feed the wolf of anger, if we feed the wolf of jealousy, if we feed the wolf that decides that they will hate so much that they're willing to go on somebody else's podcast take their time to write these things. Listen, what wolf are you feeding? And let's not fool ourselves. The wolf that is also kind and positive and wants to do good, that wolf also is willing to be critical. That wolf also will defend itself. Right? That wolf also is not going to just sit there and take it. So I think what I've loved about this experience is the opportunity it's gave me. It gave me an opportunity to speak to all of you on this topic, right? Because this is something that I practice. It's something that I know. And in my channel and on my channel and the way I bring criticism, look, of course I'm going to find more sort of critical things happening with the British royal family because I find a lot of their stuff very, very troubling. And if anyone else as a thinking human being doesn't, what wolf are you feeding, my friend? And if you find it in your state to then attack others who are asking you I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm saying consider this. That the system that you're defending is actually the system that is killing you. But you want to attack me? Oh, wow. And that also is an interesting lesson that sometimes one just has to walk away. Because sometimes you will try and educate, you will try and show different sides of an issue or a story, and the person will just not see it. I've had many conversations with friends, colleagues about what's happening in the Middle East presently. And I'll say to you, they're from different political ideologies, they're from different cultures, and all of them agree that what is happening is not right. When bombs are falling down on innocent people who can't defend themselves, when babies are dying, when children are being killed indiscriminately, as human beings, we can look at that and say, that's not right, that's not fair. With the same voice, I can say, people being kidnapped and people being killed is also not acceptable. There are many nuances to that statement and to those situations. Because I ask you a question, if you put a dog in a cage, I'm not comparing anyone to being a dog, I'm just saying, if you put a dog in a cage, or any animal in a cage, and every day you beat it, you beat that dog, you beat the dog, you beat the dog, you starve it, you laugh at it, and one day that cage opens up and that dog has a chance. I don't think the dog will care whether it's you or someone else. It'll just jump at the person. It's just nature. Is any of this right? No, it's not. But it's not justice that an entire community, an entire people should pay for the sin of few. And if anyone agrees with that, if anyone says, no, I don't care who did it, kill them all, I question your humanity, and I question, where did you get that insensitivity from? And some people have it. Let's face it. The atrocities that have happened in our histories, in the way we treat each other, human beings, we stop seeing people. And keep in mind, we're trained to do this. We're trained because we're consistently told one thing. I decided to do a bit of a test, a little bit of a test on myself, let's say. I did something I don't usually do. So, not intentionally, but I clicked on, I saw some negative comments about the Sussexes and Meghan is this and Harry is that and some awful stuff. And I said, let me just, I'm gonna listen to some more and I'll watch some more of this. Let me be frank. If that was all I listened to all the time, I think I would hate them. I literally would hate them. And I'm not a person who hates. But when you are consistently told, and this is what I think those campaigns do really well, when you're consistently told over and over and over, one thing. So on this aisle, we see these stories being repeated, right? Oh, this is the last chance for Harry. This is the last chance. The king is upset. The king is giving him a last chance. The olive branch. How many effing times are you going to give the olive branch? How many times is going to be the last chance? Why do they do it all the time? Why do they repeat it? Have you stopped to think about why they do that? It's called conditioning. They're conditioning you. It's like Pavlov's dog. You're being conditioned. So when you think about it, you're thinking about the generous king who continuously gives Harry an olive branch and he doesn't take it because of his awful witch of a wife. Right? So they don't care that they're repeating the same story. On this side of the aisle, we're like, well, we've heard this a million other times, so we dismiss it. But perhaps we shouldn't dismiss it. We should call it out. Because what it does, for those already indoctrinated, it reinforces the indoctrination. The conditioning continues. So I've said before, when someone continuously say, I don't care about the royal family and their issues, I don't care about the Meghan thing and the Harry and the prince this and the that, I don't have an opinion about it. Lies, they do have an opinion. If they say, I don't pick up the rag magazines, I don't do any of that. Truthful, you don't. But you watch the news maybe. You've watched Good Morning Britain, you've watched other shows, and what do you hear? The stories are almost never positive. So you're standing in line in the grocery store or your supermarket, and the tabloids are right there. See, they don't care if you buy it really. If they're trying to get a message over. But our human brain automatically scans to scan that front page. And you see the picture of Meghan and Harry. And you see, or the picture of the king, and it says, the king tries again. The king rejected. Harry brainwashed by yoga. You haven't bought it, but your brain has scanned it. As I've said before, you wake up one day and you hate Harry and Meghan, and you don't even know why. Think about it. So, in my space of gratitude, I thank you. I thank the comments. I thank them for taking that time to write the things that they wrote. Because what it has done is open a door of opportunity for us to have this conversation. I am so grateful for it. Because it allows me, it allows us to look at it straight on and face not only the way we think, but have an understanding of how our system, this beautiful thing that God has created, how it sort of functions, because we also have that thing, that DNA thing, that is passed down generation. That's how we learn how to defend ourselves. That's how we learn how to avoid certain things. There's encoding in here, right? You try and use a computer from the 80s or something, and compare it to a computer or laptop. For heck's sake, compare it to our phones, right? Each generation, each time has passed, we build on it, so we know. But there is basic wire in there that functions a certain way. And when we don't know how it functions, so this opportunity has been for me to bring this information for us to talk about it. And hopefully, right, you got something out of it. I really hope you did. I hope you learned something. I hope maybe if you didn't, if you think it's all mumble jumble, research for yourself. Do the research. Be curious. Be always curious. And do some research and find out. We have this amazing thing, this body that functions in such an incredible way. And there's so much that happens. Information going back and forth. And we barely know how some of it functions. So the things that we know, that's it, folks. What a privilege I've got. The privilege that making the decision to do this, to go outside of my comfort zone, to have this extraordinary opportunity to speak with you and have this conversation, and all the conversations we have. I am so privileged and, as corny as it may seem, so blessed. I want to thank you. Thank you so very much. For those of you who spent the entire hour plus and came all the way here to the end, thank you. Thank you for that opportunity to offer an opinion based on solid ground. And hopefully, as I said before, we are able to walk away with a little bit more knowledge, with a little bit more understanding of how we are wired in some sense, right? And that those negative impulses, that we have the opportunity to change them. We have the consciousness to do so. Thank you so much for that chance and that opportunity. And now it's been a long podcast. So it's time for me to say to you, take care of yourself. I value that phrase today more than ever. As I said in my very first podcast, when I was in the hospital and the doctor was telling me what he told me, my entire life just flashed before me, and I thought, gosh, what is important to me and what is not? And to know that by the grace of God, I have this chance and this opportunity to be here and be alive. I am ever so thankful, and now more than ever, I take care of myself. Whether it's stresses from work or people in my ecosystem, my environment, or any of that, I've done an enormous thing, for the lack of a better word right now, where I really look carefully at the things that matter to me and the people that matter to me, and the people that help me fulfill that exact phrase. So take care of yourself. Do the things that are good for you, for your mental health, your physical health, and say goodbye to those that don't. This is your life. Your life. And no matter how much medicine, how much advances we make in technology and in medicine, we still don't have on this planet eternal life. But for those that are believers in something greater than us, there's a soul that when this body goes back to the earth, it goes on another journey. And then we'll find out what happens there, right? But while you're here, please take care of yourself. And this, take care of your loved ones. I was invited to facilitate after a documentary, and the documentary is about mental health. And I was privileged that I was able to watch 20 minutes of it today. And I'll tell you, within less than 5 minutes of the documentary being played, I began to sob. Because sometimes we just don't know how much our loved ones need us. Sometimes we just don't know what they're going through. And sometimes they don't have the vocabulary to express it, to tell us. And the way it is expressed is in anger and violence. And what we do is say, you're impossible, you're difficult. When all they need sometimes is just a hug. All they need sometimes is for us to say, I don't know what's happening right now. I don't know what you're going through, but I'm here. I want you to know I am here and I love you. So, take care of your loved ones. They do need you, even when they say they don't. And to those strangers along the way, sometimes they come into our lives to leave a comment, right? And what they don't realize is that even though they may have perceived it as something negative, we're able to turn it into something positive, where we end up learning, where we end up having a valuable discussion. So be kind. Be kind to the strangers along the way. Some will be kind back to you, some will not. But perhaps with our kindness, we might have done something good. I've got you all in my heart, and until we speak again, I am so privileged to have you here. I thank you, and until we speak again.
Paint me like a picture, like you want me to look. And when you come forward, I'll glance and I'll give you whatever you want. Paint me a picture of what you need, and I will follow you into the dark. And I'll see a picture of